The following roster and modding were provided by a willing individual. All remarks are meant for enjoyment and educational purposes.
Welcome back to the class, everyone. We are here for another mod shaming video. A reminder that this series is all about taking a look at real rosters of players who are currently growing their accounts and trying to provide helpful remarks and gestures about their accounts. That being said, today we are going to be mod shaming the Rebel Squadron here. So this is going to be your standard Rebel Squad, CLS, both the Chewbacca's, 3PO, as well as Han Solo. And I will preface this by saying that my best use, or my preferred use for CLS, while he beats a lot of teams, one of the ones that I found specific and what we're going to be kind of aiming for here is to beat General Skywalker. General Skywalker is a very good team who has very expensive Rex, and CLS can kind of come in as a very reliable counter if you get all the modding right and, you know, meet the relic levels and whatnot. So starting off, we're going to hit CLS himself. So I can already tell that we're kind of on the right track just by looking at CLS's sets here. I'm going to immediately start to shame this, though. This needs to be a tenacity primary. Tenacity is one of those stats out there where if you don't go all in on it, it's really pointless. So that's the first thing that needs to change here. 70% is okay. You really want to be closer up to 100, and the primary is going to make that happen. So first shame there on the offense. Offense isn't actually that bad. We'll get to that in a second. But one of the things that we have to look at when we're shaming this roster, rather this entire team, is that we're going to have Chewbacca in there, and how Chewbacca relates to the leader is very important. If we take a look at his unique here, we can see very clearly that he is going to be stealing 40% of that character's stats, and a lot of them. Their max health, protection, offense, defense, potency, and tenacity. So a huge amount right at the rip, and he's also going to be giving 20% of that to the rest of the team. So what we ideally want to do is not give CLS stats that aren't here, if that makes sense. So for example, crit damage isn't here. Ideally, it's not great to mod your CLS for crit damage. There are a lot of things that CS will still beat just mechanically. The team applies a lot of exposes. You'll still shred a lot of stuff, but that isn't ideal. That's not how you're going to get the best bang out of your buck with the team. So the offense set here is really good. I like that quite a bit. Really not a huge stickler for health over potency. Doesn't matter. Or health over protection. Protection's probably better, but whatever. Crit damage here. Now, this one is a pretty big point of debate for a lot of people. I like offense. Again, he's not sharing his crit damage, so you're missing out on 40% offense to a character that's attacking every single turn, as well as more offense as well going to Han and Chewbacca, who are attacking a little bit more consistently than CLS himself is. I've heard about people talking about the big payoffs of crit damage on CLS, but at the end of the day, the team just does so much damage. I don't think you really need to rely on more crit damage actually coming from the amplifier on CLS. So I would prefer that to be offense. And in fact, I even really prefer this to be offense too. Just as much offense out of him as possible. It really helps to have his relic levels high. If you can't do that, it's fine. And then he just passes all that off to the entire team. And then you start putting crit damage on, say, Han, and you just watch him shred everyone because he has a really high base offense because he's getting those stats from Chewbacca, or rather CLS, and then he's getting the crit damage from a mod, and he just blows things up. So definitely, this needs to be tenacity. Replace these two with offense. Get him hitting harder. I'm not going to shame the speed that much. If you can get him faster, very cool. If you can't, 100 is really a nice margin for him. He gains so much turn meter from a lot of his kit, either from his resisting on the leadership or just from applying buffs from it binds all things. But overall, you're close, but need to be a lot better to be able to push that threshold. As it stands, you're not going to be able to give enough tenacity to the rest of the team to not only avoid the daze from General Skywalker, but you're making yourself a lot more susceptible to target lock from General Grievous. So definitely needs some work there. Let's go over to Chewbacca since he's closest. So Chewbacca, this is kind of a very similar thing here. You gotta get these tenacity numbers up. These are rookie numbers. The reason being, gas has a base potency of 65%. So even like this halfway modding, I guess we'll call it, here with the tenacity primary and then one, or actually it's two tenacity sets, that is still going to get you dazed a fair amount of the time, even if the gas has literally no potency on any modding or any datacron at all. So again, if you're trying to use it for that, it's really important. And in general, Chewbacca just really likes tenacity. If he gets dazed, his whole kit kind of goes down the toilet. He can't attack out of turn. He can't heal anyone. He can't apply exposes. He can't do max health damage. So If you can get that number up to like 160, and then you start piling on top of this extra 20 or so percent tenacity that's coming from CLS, it then becomes really hard to daze him, and he can just do whatever he wants for most of the battle. So that's really the only recommendation I have here. You kind of want protection on the rest of these, because Chewbacca is in a very weird way your tank, just because your enemy is going to consistently go after him first, because he's kind of the linchpin to get this going. You can really mod all that with protection. I'm not a huge stickler for it. The health is okay. Crit damage is okay. Again, the team doesn't really need more damage with everything that it's doing between max health damage and then Han just hitting so freaking hard. So this can even be protection, but speed's okay too. That'll really, you have to focus more on tenacity with Chewbacca if you want him to, again, beat the best teams that he can beat. Next up, let's go to our other Chewbacca. And now, new Bacca, there's a few different ways to mod him, and I'm honestly not too hardcore on any of them. You can go the tenacity method with Chewbacca as well to try to get him up. Luckily, he's getting a higher percentage from CLS, and his base is even higher to start with. So you can kind of get into that 160% range a lot easier. Again, honestly, if you probably upgrade this to 6E, you immediately probably hit that limit. The offense, I do prefer offense over crit damage on new Bacca. And I know that it seems a little bit contrary to what we talked about before about, you know, you're getting all this offense from CLS. You shouldn't be modding everyone else for offense. But at the same time, if you look at his crit chance, it is pitiful. His base is at over or under 50%. He's really never going to crit reliably. And especially when you start moving in these factors in with crit avoidance, it just becomes very hard, very fast. So unless you want to go all in on modding for crit chance, you can do that. But then you start to sacrifice other important stats like tenacity, potency, and offense. So really not a fan. I actually do really like what you're doing here. That's very good. Still kind of a fan of either crit damage or offense on this top one too, just because he gets a lot of crit avoidance. Oh, also, it's worth noting that instead of protection on Chewbacca, that could also be crit avoidance. You don't really need that on CLS and Han because they have guard. But yeah, so don't hate it, but don't love it here. You can go in a few directions. The tenacity is good. You could use more potency instead of offense. Offense is also good. Just try to stick to one lane and really go hard on it. And I would avoid I would encourage avoiding crit chance as a whole. Next up is going to be 3PO. 3PO, this is going to be a hard one to shame because his modding, and bear with me here, almost kind of doesn't matter. Like you should be getting more potency and more speed on him. Like he could be faster, he could be 270, he could be 280. This could be 100% potency. But you just get so much stats from CLS's kit passing everything down, as well as all these uniques he has where he's gaining extra potency or he's gaining just 20 speed for freezies. It really doesn't matter. So as much as I would like to shame you for having offense primaries on a character that can't do damage, it really doesn't matter. Almost nobody goes and tries to kill 3PO first, second, third, or fourth. He's almost always the last one to die. So could he be better? Sure. Should he make it at a point? Nah. He will definitely work where he is, even with the offense primaries. And it looks like last but not least is going to be Han Solo himself. So this is where we get into kind of a fun part of shaming as well, with what I call overkill. So I can already see, oh my gosh, that's a good mod. All right, so maybe we don't take this off. So Han, there is a little bit of debate for wanting him to be real fast. And the reason why is because in mirrors, the faster Han will shoot first, and that can kind of help you control the battle. That battle is kind of out there to begin with. It is actually one of the most consistent counters when you put CLS on defense, similar to Grievous. And him going really quickly can help a lot with that. That being said, crit chance is a very awkward set to put on Han. And I know it seems normal. Oh, like, you know, he's not even at 100%. I should get a crit chance on him. If you start to look at all the different mechanics that are happening at the same time between his crit chance up buff that he can use, which really, don't be afraid to use that against gas if you want to. That amount of buffs really does not pump his offense up to the point where you just die. You can use that. You also get an extra bit of crit chance from Chewbacca himself. And you just end up having a ton of crit chance, and you don't really need to mod him for it. I guess you can. It's not a detriment to him. But at the end of the day, you might actually be better off with something like defense. But it really doesn't matter. Again, Han Solo typically isn't the first target. You're going to be going, your opponent really should be going after one of the Chewbaccas, if not both of them, before Han. So his defensive measures don't really matter. I won't lie, I really do like the speed. That is very hard to shame. Maybe you don't take the crit chance off of him just because you want to keep him at as fast as he is. Offense here, pretty good. It could be faster, but it looks like it's not for fault of trying with the blue gold mod here, as well as the 25 here. That's great. That's really good. Really hard to shame that. I would even, don't, but this is very tempting. This is very tempting to start rolling this mod again to get more offense there. Here, I would like offense as a primary, but again, if you're worried about a mirror being a thing, then you don't want to give up 302 speed. That is very good. Yeah, honestly, this one, out of all the CLS team, this is the hardest one to shame for our viewer here. So that is pretty much wrapping everything up. Tenacity, tenacity, tenacity. Get CLS above that 100% point. Go all in on Chewbacca. You have to stop doing this halfway trip here with tenacity. You have to go all in. Don't be too concerned about a speed. Critical aims here is very cool if you can make it happen. I realize a lot of people don't have those arrows, but overall, I think you're in a pretty good shape to, once you make those tweaks, to beat almost every single 501st team out there. So hope this was helpful. And for all of you guys who are watching this and want me to mod shame your team or your roster as well, do make sure to check out the Discord link in the description below. You can join there. There's a specific area and instructions on what to do. You need to put your ally code. You need to put what 5 characters you want to be shamed. And also, heads up, we're only trying to do one of each team just so it doesn't become super repetitive. So I apologize to everyone else who also put CLS after this player. We won't be covering that. So if you want to change your entry to some other team, we'll be sure to hit that one. But until the next time, guys, stay awesome.